we're going to talk about walking as we walk down the pathway of our Christian lives. Now, as we go down this path, we're in the process of what you may have heard of before called sanctification. Now, to put that in a little bit easier to understand terms, that's becoming more Christ-like. Now, at the end of this road is ultimate sanctification, or that moment when we have become or fully arrived at being Christ-like. This ultimate sanctification will never occur while we're here on earth, but we will arrive at ultimate sanctification when we arrive in our home in heaven with our Heavenly Father. Now, this ultimate sanctification is our end goal of the road that we are walking upon. But as we walk down this road, we come to forks where we have to make a choice about which path we're going to take. And that's where we get the title of our message tonight, The Fork in the Road. Now, as I said, we're walking down this path with our end goal of ultimate sanctification when we arrive in heaven. Now, if you've been reading along in our book, Deepest Thanks and Deeper Apologies, the author refers to this ultimate sanctification as where the water crosses over the road. So that gives you a little bit of an idea of where we're headed tonight. We're walking down that pathway of life, and we come to these forks in the road. And tonight, I want us to look at the fork in the road of choosing to live in loving God for His sake, or moving on and loving me for His sake. So we're now moving into the fourth and final section of our look. We went through the first section, that was loving me for my sake. The second section was loving God for my sake. The next section that we're just coming out of is loving God for His sake. Now we're moving into loving me for God's sake. So we're moving into this stage of love, of loving myself for God's sake. And within this first chapter of this section, we're of love, of loving God or loving me for His sake, we accept this love as unconditional. Now, don't get me wrong. We are to better ourselves, to become more Christ-like. That's the process of sanctification that we talked about earlier. We are to move towards that destiny that God has for us. But this change is not to earn God's love, but it is out of God's love that we are able to change and become more Christ-like. So when we're faced with this choice at the fork in the road, we have two different paths. Down one path, we may appear lonely. But down the other path, we see me, myself, and I, there to keep us company, to help us prove that we're worthy of God's love. So down this path with me, myself, and I, that's the path of loving God for His sake. Down this other path that seems kind of lonely and obscure is that path of loving me for God's sake. So down one path we see me, myself, and I there to keep us company, to help us earn, as we try to do, to earn God's love. But if we look closely, and what we oftentimes fail to see is down this other path, God is there walking with us, but we usually choose to only see the loneliness. Down the road with me, myself, and I, we believe that we have to love God in order to receive His love. But in loving God or loving me for my sake, we just have to accept it. Now, I have found 3 specific times in life that we find ourselves at this fork in the road of choosing loving God for His sake or loving me for His sake. The first is in times of weakness. Now, when we are faced with our own weakness, we come to this fork in the road. We can either work and struggle on our own merits, thinking that we're earning God's help and love to get us through this weakness. We're going through on our own strength to overcome the weakness. Or we can choose to take that other path and learn from the Apostle Paul's life on what it's like and how to lean on God and what He has done and will do for us. Now we see that Paul came to this fork in the road, as it were, in 2 Corinthians 12. If you'd like to turn from there, we're going to read starting in verse 7 in just a couple minutes. And in 2 Corinthians 12, he tells us of the thorn in his flesh. So to give you a little bit of a background of the verses prior to verse 7, Paul's telling us all about all these wonderful things that God has been doing in and through him in Paul's ministry. Paul tells earlier in some of his writings about how he has reason to boast. He's been to all the right schools. He was a good little Jewish boy. He did all the right things, said all the right things. He said all these wonderful things that God has done in his life. But then, here in verse 7, Paul tells us this. So, 2 Corinthians 12, starting in verse 17. Paul says, "So to keep me from becoming conceited because of the surpassing greatness of the revelation." So Paul says, in order to keep me, from becoming conceited because of all this wonderful things that God has given me, has done in me and through me, a thorn was given me in the flesh, a messenger of Satan to harass me, to keep me from becoming conceited. So Paul just told us about all these wonderful things that God has done in and through him. But then we hear of this thorn in his flesh, to keep him from becoming conceited. But I want us to take a look at what that word conceited means. So I looked it up in Webster's dictionary, and Merriam-Webster defines it as having or showing too much pride in having your own worth or goodness. So Paul tells us all about all these good things that God's done in and through him, that he could become prideful over, become conceited about. But then Paul tells us that in order to keep me from becoming conceited, I was given this weakness that I would have to overcome. But as we read on into verse 8 and 9, we see that Paul didn't try to overcome it on his own. So let's read in verse 8. And Paul says, "3 times I pleaded with the Lord about this, that it should leave me." So he went to the Lord, he went to God and said, "Lord, remove this thorn in the flesh, this weakness that I have, this issue that I can't get over. Remove it from me." Then in verse 9 we see that God responds. He says, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." And through this, Paul is able to see the reason that God allowed this weakness to be given to him, that Christ's power may be shown through him, even through this weakness. So Paul says, "Therefore I will boast all the more gladly of my weakness, so that the power of Christ may rest upon me." So we see that God still used Paul's weakness. He used it as a constant reminder to Paul that it was not Paul doing these works, that it was God doing it. So even though Paul had this weakness, he looked to and allowed God to use him and overcome the weakness, in order that God's grace would be shown through him. He chose not to work through it on his own strength, but to accept God's love. And we can do the same with our own weaknesses. We surrender it to God, realize that it's not by our love of God that we are loved and then given the strength to overcome, but it's by God's love that is given to us that we only have to accept that we can overcome our weakness. Now, in the last week, I have run into trying to work through one's weakness on one's own strength. So, this last week, I began training a horse, and his name is Tuffy. Now, Tuffy's weakness is that he's young. He hasn't experienced all that there is to be experienced in a horse's life. He hasn't seen everything or done everything. Tuffy doesn't necessarily know how to properly control his body with a rider on his back. So that's why I'm training him, to teach him how to do these things. But I've noticed something about Tuffy. Instead of relying on me and trusting me, that I have his best interest in mind. Whenever he's faced with his own shortcomings, his own weakness, instead of relying and trusting on me, he tries to work harder. Just yesterday when I was riding him, I would ask him to trot in a nice little circle. He'd been trotting along nicely, and I said, okay, well now let's go in a circle. And instead of going in a circle, he thought, well, going in a circle is pretty hard, so I'll work harder and I'll go faster. So he just took off. I felt like I was going to run into the wall. Luckily I didn't. But instead of relying on me and seeing that the way I was directing him would be the path of least resistance, he tried to work harder to get through it on his own strength. So by running around at breakneck speeds like a giraffe, because he also runs around like this, he tried to run around like an idiot to get through things, to get through this hardship, this weakness that he had of not knowing what to do. He didn't know what to do when I asked him to go in the circle, but instead of just trusting me and going the way that I pointed him, he decided to take off like an idiot and run around. So he failed to see that I was there, ready to guide and teach him on these new things that he was experiencing, these new trials in life. Which leads us into our second point. The other place that we run into this fork in the road is in trials and temptations. Now, to use the example of Tuffy again, Tuffy faces temptation every time we come to the end of the arena that has the gate on it. That's the best end of the arena because that means he's done, right? When he goes out of the gate, he gets to go back to the barn and eat his grain and hay. But, so every time we come to this end of the arena, he's tempted to stop. Be walking along or trotting along and he says, there's the gate! Time to stop! So he is tempted by this desire that he has to return to the barn. Every time we get closer to that gate, he will either do one of two things. He will stop, like I said, or if the gate is over here by you, we'll be riding along and he'll just kind of do this to get closer to that gate, which makes my knee fearful for its life. And he also likes to do his weakness routine too, where he'll take off and go at breakneck speeds. So he is faced with this temptation because he thinks life will be easier if he can just get to that gate. Again, he's missed that seeing that I'm there for him, that I'm there guiding him through the process of learning to get to the true end of his training session. Now, we're all faced with the temptation to sin. Each of us face different sins, but we are all tempted. We all face these temptations the same. James 1:14 tells us that every man and woman is tempted when they are drawn away of their own lust and enticed. Now, Tuffy's temptation temptation to sin is to stop or misbehave, to run out of the boundaries that I've set upon his life. It stems from his desire to be done. He's tempted to stop or just work harder, as I said, by running around like a giraffe to get to that finish line faster. He thinks that he can get to that end goal, that ultimate sanctification where he has arrived as the perfect horse if he just works harder. Again, he's failed to see that I'm there to help him reach that destiny. That it's not an overnight snap of the fingers trick. It's a process of reaching one decision after the other, of reaching that final destiny. Now, when we are faced with temptations, we similarly have this choice to make. Do we trust the trainer on our back, or our Lord and Savior, or do we fight on our own? Now, I want to stick with me here on this, because if we try to fight on our own, we'll end up like Tuffy running around an idiot. But if we take those three little letters of fighting on our own, the O-W-N that make up own, we can rearrange it into a much better word of W-O-N, one. not one number, but the victory. We have won. We can claim victory because it has already been given to us when we face temptation. It has been granted to us by God's love for us, not by working for it on our own, but it's something that is there for us to receive. And we can find this promise in 1 Corinthians 10:13. It says, "No temptation has overtaken you that is not common to man. God is faithful, and He will not let you be tempted beyond your ability. But with the temptation, He will also provide the way of escape, that you may be able to endure it." Now, the last place that we come to the fork in the road is in failure. Whether it be in our weakness or in our temptations or any other area of life, we do and we will fail because we are human. That is simply the human nature. We will fail. But how we choose to respond to this failure is key. Oftentimes in failure, we like to play the blame game. The ever popular line we like to use, which was coined by comedian Flip Wilson in the 70s, was, "The devil made me do it." Now, I didn't grow up then, I don't remember this, but I do know I've heard that line many times. The devil made me do it, or we blame anyone else that we think we can cast the blame onto. We try to shift the blame onto someone else because we fear the consequences. We believe that because we are still trying to love God for His sake, that causes us to believe that we've messed up and that He will stop loving us because of His failure, because of our failure, So our next reaction is once again to try and work harder to earn that love, to get God's love back, because we think somehow we have lost it in our failure. We try to muscle through. We freak out, just as Tuffy does when he makes a mistake and tries to go harder. He freaks out because he thinks that we have lost God's love and direction. But the truth is that God doesn't give up on us. It's very important for us to learn this from Scripture. No matter the fork of the road that we find ourselves at, whether weakness or trials, temptation, but particularly when we're faced with this fork in failure, we don't need to work harder for God's love. He's always there with us, with a loving hand to guide us, just as Tuffy is learning. He just has to accept it. He just has to accept that I am there, guiding him on the path that is before him. I won't give up on him until he has reached that destiny, just as God will not give up on us until we have reached the destiny that He has placed before us. And we can hold on to this promise in Scripture found in Philippians 1:6. "For I am sure of this, that He who began the good work in me will bring it to completion the day of Christ Jesus." Now, in these moments that we stand at the fork in the road and we are faced with the two choices, the two paths of life to walk down, we're faced with what the choice of loving God for my sake is made up of. Do I allow God alone to comfort me? Do I allow God alone to speak to me? Do I allow God alone to love me? And can we realize that in these moments that we are not alone, but we are alone with God? Let's pray. Lord, I thank You for this day, and I thank You, Lord, for Your love, that it is there, that we can accept it, and that, Lord, we can love ourselves for who You are because of what You have done for us. Lord, that by loving us the way You love us, we can move on through our failures, through our temptations, and our trials and our weaknesses. Lord, that it's through those that You are glorified because of Your great love for us. And I pray, Lord, that as we face these forks in the road in our lives, that we would look to You as our guide, as our helper, just as Tuffy is learning, that the trainer is there to help, to guide, to lead him through these new adventures, these new experiences in life, that we would look to you the same way. Pray all this in your holy and precious name. Amen.